Hey guys, Adam from iClimate. You're joining me at one of our commercial sites today. We just completed a heat recovery ventilation project for this client. The job's in Farringdon and it's the time gap between Christmas and New Year, so nobody's here. What we did here was a mechanical heat recovery ventilation. So this office had no aircon heating, no heat pumps, and no fresh air. The most important thing here is to get fresh air into that space. Right, so this is the open plan office space. The large silver ducts you can see on the perimeters are the galvanized steel ductwork which carries the warm air out of here and brings in fresh air into here. It's spiral ductwork. We've kept the ductwork as high as possible, you'll see. We've used it on the perimeters of the ceilings, so we don't interfere with the existing lighting detail or anything else that's going on in the ceiling. It's a retrofit project. So these above me is the extract side. We've used egg crate extract grills with bespoke cut-in shoes because we didn't want any sub-branches running into the ceiling, cluttering it. This removes the warm, stale air produced by the occupants, all the computers, all the machines. On the left-hand side, on the larger side, you'll see where we have used adjustable slot diffusers. This is the supply side, right? This brings in the fresh air into the space. It doesn't bring in freezing cold fresh air, it brings in a tempered fresh air. So that means it's a heat recovery process. So the heat that we're generating from the space, generated by the radiators, gets transported through the air into the extract ductwork. It runs into the unit, and then there's a cross heat exchanger element. So we recover the heat that's produced from the building, cross it over into the fresh air from outside, and that gives it its name, the heat recovery ventilation system. The reason I'm talking about it is because over the last 10 or 12 years, we've seen MVHR systems be specified in homes all the time, but you'll be very surprised as to the number of commercial spaces in London that don't have dedicated fresh air into their spaces. And it's the first step you should actually take. Fresh air is very important for occupants. It provides high oxygen levels and it gives you that alertness that people feel when they're in a very comfortable space. So it's good for occupants, productivity, and energy efficiency. And then the next step for the client is to work on an air source heat pump where they're going to remove the boiler for the radiators and we're going to switch to an air source heat pump. So it's better to take those calculations in a stage by stage process. Make sure you get your air changes right within the space and the fresh air per person for the occupancy, and then you work on the heat load and heat losses to bring comfort levels. These are the existing cast iron radiators fed by the boilers. So our next stage with the client is to replace these. Ductwork runs across here. This is the extract, and then these large baffles that you see for the car guys, you'll know them as like exhaust baffles, and for mechanical guys they are essentially the same thing. They're what we call silencers or attenuators, so they make sure that the noise emitted from the fan, which is located in the unit, is as silent as possible. So we're in the server room. There's no light because the PIR needs to be relocated by the client's contractor, which they're going to do. But let's talk about the MVHR unit, right? So have a filter element inside them, and there's also a cross heat exchanger, like I mentioned, the heat exchanger element, which you have to leave sufficient space on the access panel to come out once a year. We inspect it and change it depending on the conditions of the air inside and the quality. The fuse board here on this job is actually a plastic old fuse board, so we replaced it with a garage style metal clad fuse board with a dedicated supply running an FP200 fire rated cable. There are two large penetrations that need to be done within the building fabric, and these are typically 150mm to 200mm or slightly even larger. When they get larger, we get structural engineers involved to come to site to assess the load and where we can penetrate and how we can penetrate to make sure that we're all compliant. But here we did a 200mm spigot. MVHRs come with a single control point. We agreed with the client, we put the controller here, where everybody in the office can see it. You can see it's got the heat exchange element, so it lets you know that it's in heat exchange mode. Now, people are going to be saying, what do you do in summer? The unit has a summer bypass mode, right? Which means that the air recovered from the inside, the warm stale air that I mentioned earlier, is bypassed through the heat exchanger. So it goes directly outside, and the air from outside comes directly inside. And we take benefit from the natural cooling effect provided by the convection of the air. They also have a timer schedule which can be activated, so if you know what time obviously you guys are occupying your spaces, we'll set the timers up for you guys so the unit comes in, you don't have to physically touch it, and it turns off as well. We get people mentioning, oh, the supply is 180 degrees and the extract air is 180 degrees and it's going to take it straight out. No, the supply air is slot diffusers with adjustable vanes, which we've angled down. So the air is going to be coming down at a slight, I'd say between 45 and 35 degree angle here, and the extract is at 180 degree, been taken from high level. This is the only way you can manipulate a space of this construct, which is essentially a narrow space, has a lot of length, but the width between the ducts isn't much, and we want to keep things clinical with no sub branches, so we avoid any short cycling across the ventilation system. That's it. I'm feeling a bit more awake with my lovely peppermint tea. We're going to wrap up this one. The cleaners came in last night, so it's nice and clean for the client post New Year. This video will be coming out in 2024, and we wish you all a safe and happy new year, and look forward to showing you guys more content of what iClimate is about next year. Take care and be safe. Thanks. Oh, light.